positive through this, and we will get through it, I promise. As far as the content, we are going to be learning about financial basics today. Those of you who have ever had a checkbook before, we're going to be revisiting some of those principles in order to ultimately allow you to afford the lifestyle that you want to lead for yourselves, your family, and your communities. I think it is super critical to prioritize our funds and allocate them appropriately so that you have the ability to live a comfortable life. And comfortable means something different to everybody. For some of us, it just means maybe having enough money to go camping and get on my mountain bike and go ride each day. And for some of us, maybe it means we want to be a millionaire. Some of us, maybe it means we want to start new businesses and adventure into new opportunities. And some of us just maybe means being able to give back to the local community. So this will be hopefully a good call. It'll be interactive a little bit. I'm not gonna hopefully put anyone on the spot too much. I can't stand calls like that, so I don't want to lead one. This call likely will not take until 1 o'clock. We'll get you on to your lunches here a little bit earlier. And if we do make it to 12 o'clock, we will likely make it to 12. We will plan on taking a 5-minute break, at least 5 minutes, so y'all can go potty or get a snack, do whatever you need. Again, I appreciate y'all. My name is Josh Nungesser. I am a realtor. I am a productivity coach and a father who wants his children to grow up in a home that is comfortable. And with that in mind, I've got to make sure that my finances are in order. I've been doing this for 3 years. I came from a background of retail. I ran Walmart stores. I worked with Walmart for 20 years. I ran stores for 5. And with that comes a lot of P&L responsibility. Who here knows what P&L stands for?
Profit and loss.
Profit and loss. Cool. For those of you who have been in business for a while, maybe you know what a P&L is, and it's okay if you don't. We will talk a little bit about it today. I know the title is Financial Basics, and I do want to make sure that we're giving you guys the tools to think next level. When I think basics, I think, hey, do I have enough money to pay my bills? That's basic. I think when you get to that next level, that 201 class, I think we start to talk about what does driving a thriving business look like in terms of financials? And that's what we'll get into a little bit as well. I will share as transparently as you all want my P&L, and I'll also share kind of the categories that I break it down by. At the largest, I ran an $82 million store, a super center with 360 associates. So P&L responsibility is great when you're running a business like a Walmart. And yet, I don't think a lot of people give the same credence to their own P&Ls when they're operating their own business like we all are. Think about this. You are a business owner, and sometimes that's easy to forget for some reason. So challenge us all to stay engaged here. And at the end, I will ask everyone, not to put you on the spot. I hope you don't get nervous. I'm a pretty cool guy. No need to get nervous. I'm going to ask everyone for one simple aha, one thing that you learned throughout this whole thing. Sound good? Wonderful. All right. Hopefully, can everybody see my screen? You should see a big Ignite page right now. I see some head shaking. All right. What do successful agents do every day? You've probably attended, if you're on this call, then odds are you've maybe attended the other calls such as prospecting, marketing, how to negotiate the deal. Those are things that we should be doing every single day, right? And yet it's all aimed at what? Why do we get into business? Somebody help me out.
Profitability.
Thank you. Yes, we get into business because we ultimately, at the end of the day, want to make money, and we want that money to look like profit so that we have enough left over after we've paid our bills and expenses to fund that lifestyle that we were just talking about. And so it's kind of funny that managing money is like last on the slate here, because it's probably the most important thing. You've gotta manage your money, and in order to I guess utilize all the stuff that you're making. So and when you make more money and you make more profit, you can generate for leads easier. You can make nicer seller listing presentations. You can promote yourself and market yourself to get more listings. You can put ultimately, money is the root of all evil, they say. However, it can do a lot of good, and we'll get into that here in a moment. What today looks like at a quick glance: we're going to talk a little bit about perspective on money. We're going to get into a little bit of MREA models. Does anybody know what MREA stands for?
Millionaire real estate agent.
Thank you. Great. Can y'all see me? This is the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book. We call it the Red Book because there's a multitude of different colored books that Gary Keller's wrote. This one, if you only owned one book that's real estate related, I would argue with anybody that this should be it. The reason that this should be it is this is a guide or a blueprint for success on how you can literally go from zero, which is where some of us are, to becoming a millionaire in real estate. And not just making $1 million, this also gives you a guide on how to eventually give away $1 million a year in real estate. And so this guide, if you don't have it, I know we have them at the Keller Williams Excel office, and I would safely assume, Elise, if you're on, do you happen to know if we have any of these at the Cap Partners office? She's not on. All right, cool. Well, Millionaire Real Estate Agent. So we're going to reference that. We're going to reference the actual book, the actual content, so you guys can learn some things from that. And if you don't own the book, either come into the office and grab one and have it marked off on your company bill or whatever, or just order it online. Own that book though. We're going to talk about the flow of money and what that needs to look like in a successful business. We're going to talk about building your future and thinking strategically, but also dreaming really big. I think it's really critical to have some place for that money to go. And in theory, we also want to make sure that we have our dreams thought out in accordance with our realistic retirement goals. So we'll talk even about financial planners. We'll talk about CPAs. We'll talk about taxes a little bit because those are important things for us as business owners to stay on top of. We'll talk about best practices, what daily success habits look like, and we'll recap and get a feel for what your thoughts are on wins from this presentation. What are some habits for a financially sound business? Take a look at this, guys, and I'm going to give you a minute to review this and just give me your initial thoughts for why these things might be important. We'll talk about this in 1 minute. All right, so I'm gonna read a couple lines here from my manual here, but Keller Williams is known for models, systems, and technology. So naturally, Keller Williams offers powerful tools driven by technology to help you pursue your personal and business goals. So why do you think these are important habits? Can somebody give me give me their thoughts.
Well, I think a lot of it is around consistency and planning. And if you don't have that, especially in a financial model, you're going to end up a few years down the road and realize, you know, you're way behind.
Good. Why else are these things important?
I think part of it's just about organization too, about keeping your, not just your money organized, but everything else. But that's a huge part of any business is keeping that organized.
Yeah.
Last thing you want to do is end up owing the IRS taxes late.
That's exactly it, Brian. I think organization and to your point, Melody, being consistent with that organization is key. I find, and I'm gonna insert a lot of my own personal discoveries. Since I've only been doing this for 3 years, I'm still relatively new, and I think, you know, maybe I'm just one step ahead of some of you out there. So I do from time to time find it challenging to keep track of all my financials. They make apps for that, fortunately, which help me. They also we've also got technology in the form of things like you know, Google Drive documents that we're able to update on the go and from multiple different devices. So number one there, set a profit goal that funds your big life and pursue the activities to achieve it. So it says profit goal there. I think a lot of agents confuse income with profit. So we're talking a lot with all of our coaching clients right now about our goals for 2021. And it seems like $100,000 is kind of that magic number for a lot of us out there. And we're going to deem 2021 successful if we make $100,000. The thing we want to make sure we understand is if we make $100,000 in GCI, does that mean we profit $100,000? It does not. And so we really need to make sure that we are not confusing income with profit. So we'll talk a little bit more about that. I think a lot of people don't save for and don't pay taxes on time. As realtors, we are independent contractors, and some of us maybe haven't what's it called, prepaid our taxes on a quarterly basis before. I know when I was in the business world making a consistent, steady paycheck, I never paid estimated taxes. Why would I, right? We just kind of wait till the end of the year. Well, as a realtor, you have the ability to do that, and that's where a CPA comes in to help you with that. What we don't want is for you to get to the end of the year and have to pay a big tax bill that you have not already saved for. A lot of realtors do not make powerful use of the tools available to them. So we aren't using the guidebook MREA that's available to us. And guys, please know this, if you know me well at all, you know that I am not just gonna toot the horn of Keller Williams just because I work at Keller Williams. I'm honestly advocating this book because it is a life changer. I've used it in my business, and my business has grown exponentially over the last 3 years from where I was day one. So MREA book is legit. Take my word for it and then go prove me wrong. So that's a tool that we have to use, though. Other tools that we have to use that are kind of fiscally related would be like KW Command. It's a CRM, but it's also a one-stop shop. And so a lot of mega teams out there in the world, especially with Keller Williams, said that they were excited for Command because they were going to start saving thousands of dollars by using this one tool every single month. Because a lot of mega agents and teams out there use other CRMs that are really, they're great for what they do, but they're not a one-stop shop like Command is. Now, is Command still, you know, undergoing some changes and stuff? Absolutely. Is it perfect? No. And it's still basically free for us. And so from a financial perspective, aside from your monthly dues, there's really no cost to it. So a great tool to have. A lot of realtors don't understand their financials and just wing it. think you don't have to answer this question out loud, but is that you? I think from time to time, that's me. Then I have to put myself in check. I say, oh, I can afford this without actually going and reviewing my numbers to see, like, does it make economic financial sense? A lot of realtors don't plan for a regular monthly salary. We're going to get into a little practice here in a second. It's called an allocations form. So it's a way for you to strategize how much money do I need every single month. And it will also act as a sense of motivation for us. And lastly, a lot of realtors are not preparing now for their financial security. There's 8,000 realtors across the great city metro area of Columbus. Of those 8,000, how many do you think are running successful, thriving businesses? I would probably put the number at less than 10%. We're not going to go into detail on each of these topics today, but these are items that if you are doing them, you're going to be running a successful business. Somebody marked on the screen, but it says money is good for the good it can do. When I attend, so Keller Williams puts on a ton of different classes, and you guys over the course of your Keller Williams careers are going to get invited to or have the ability to attend seminar after seminar, class after class, business planning clinics, quantum leap, all these things that are out there at our disposal because we're with Keller Williams. They're awesome. And a lot of them talk about money. Money this, money that, money this. If you're like me, you get a little uncomfortable when we're consistently talking about money. If you attend BOLD, they do many exercises based on money. How much money can you make? Can you make more? How big are you dreaming? Are you dreaming big enough? The question is not posed, especially from Gary Keller and the minds at Keller Williams. It's not posed to make you think that money is the end all be all. This statement right here by Gary Keller really encapsulates KW in a nutshell, in my estimation. Money is good for the good it can do. So what does that mean? What does that mean to you guys? Let me hear from two of you. What good can money do?
It can keep you from being homeless. It can fund your life. It can allow you to help others.
Thank you, Brian. One more.
When you're when you're financially excuse me, when you're financially stable, as Brian said, there's others you can help, or really you can change someone's life by helping them financially, helping them to get back on their feet. So whether that's a family member or someone else that you've come in contact with. So I think sometimes people don't understand how much what might be relatively small amount to you can make a big difference in someone's life.
It's so true. And I think when we think of money, we think selfishly about it, like, oh, well, I don't need a bigger house. I don't need more clothes. I don't need more shoes or that bottle of wine or whatever that looks like to us. And we don't automatically go to where our hearts really should be. What we're built for is community, right? So we as humans are built for community, and we're here for a purpose. If you leave this call with nothing else than to realize that you were built especially for some specific purpose, and odds are it was probably to help others in some capacity, whether that's your family members, maybe you're supporting a parent who is fallen ill, or maybe you've got a neighbor across the street who is struggling due to coronavirus. Maybe they lost their job. Can you assist these people? We would be greedy if we didn't utilize our skills for the greater good of the people around us. whether that's our community, like going downtown and helping people out at the soup kitchen, or volunteering, or donating a meal to those individuals. Like, the more money we can make, the more impact we can have in our communities, and that's a legacy worth having. So critical, and I get really fired up and really passionate about this. Making more money is not a bad thing, because with more money, you can help more people. Now, let's talk about being financially responsible. Take a minute and evaluate these two scenarios. Man, those red lines on the screen are really frustrating me. Take a look at these two scenarios and, yeah, just ponder those for a second. We'll talk about those in a minute here. All right, so we've got two scenarios. Both start with the same check. Great, you sold a $300,000 home. You get a $9,000 commission. And after your fees and cost of sales and stuff, you're given a check for $57.60. Is the $9,000 commission check that we're going to call her Mary, that Mary receives profit, or is that $9,000 check income?
Income.
Yes. Profit is what's left over to fund your business, your taxes, and your personal lifestyle. And it's important to know the difference between income and profit. So I go back to, as you're setting your financial goals for 2021, are you budgeting for those things, those taxes and expenses? Or are you just trying to say, hey, I'll be satisfied with $100,000, even though that might actually only mean that at the end of the day, you're left with 40K. Is that enough to get you through? So which scenario is, this is a dumb question, I'm not even gonna ask it. The one on the right is obviously the responsible way to utilize your finances, correct? So that person has set up two different accounts, and we'll get into this in a little detail. And I'm actually working on this in my life right now. My wife yesterday, it's funny that I'm teaching this class, by the way, because I don't love talking about finances. In fact, it makes me a little uncomfortable from time to time. However, as business owners, we understand that we have to do it. I get uncomfortable talking about my own personal finances because it's not exciting. Like, most of the time it's, hey, we need to cut back on this, or hey, like, why are we spending money over here and doing this? But being responsible. So I was talking with my wife, I've already got a business account and a personal account, and it's through the same bank. So if you don't have those set up yet, I would highly encourage you, especially if you're brand new to real estate, set yourself up a business account and do it with the same bank. My preference would be the same bank that you already have your personal account with, so that you can easily transfer money back and forth. And I would also encourage you to automate that process so that you don't see that money and get comfortable with that money and start spending that money immensely before you've already designated that for things like taxes. So I'm in the process right now trying to set up a couple different bank accounts, like for marketing, for payroll, for taxes, and for business savings as well. So you can plus this up a little bit once you get into the into the business a little bit more and you start having the need for it. But this person on the right, so Mary, she took her, or sorry, Jessica, this is clearly Jessica. Jessica had put some of her money, looks like, I don't know, maybe 25% into her bank account, probably more than that. And then the additional, the leftover goes to her personal bank account, which is then divvied up into 2 tax funds here. She's got one for state and federal and one for self-employment tax. Don't get me started on taxes and don't ask me a lot of questions on taxes. All I'm going to tell you is I normally reserve 25% of my commissions for taxes. And every year the CPA that I have and use does a great job, and I get money back out of that fund. So I remember when I was getting my first, commission checks, I would ask my coach, like, hey, how much money should I set aside? And there's no definitive right number to my knowledge. So I just went with 25%. Some of you may feel more comfortable taking a little bit larger, like 30, 33%. And don't go solely off of what I'm doing. But at the end of the day, Jessica gets to keep $2,400. That is her bottom line profit. Expenses and taxes have been accounted for. So good job, Jessica. I'm going to share my screen now on something else. This is going to be called an allocations form. Let me see if I can find it. All right. All right. Do you see something that says profit allocations form at the top now?
Yep.
Good. All right. For me, this is helpful. I need visuals to help me, especially something that I can actually like write on or type in so that I can actually see where my spend needs to be. So this is going to be different for everybody. These numbers are just examples. It actually starts at the bottom for me. So what are some expenditures that you have in your life that you have to budget for on a monthly basis? Well, that's simple, right? We've got a roof over our head. We're going to need food to survive. Simple things like utilities, TV, internet, if you've got them. Monthly payments, pet care expenses. Oof. Child care and tuition is a real ugh. Automotive things, health and life insurance, and medical bills. You don't want to live a boring life. Although 2020 has made it pretty simple to save money on entertainment, we still want to spend some on that, right? We need our mental health to sustain us through this crazy year. So I encourage you to go be entertained from time to time. Dry cleaning, man, I know a dry cleaner and his business stinks right now because no one's going to work. Support your local businesses. So these things, when you add those items up, you're going to get your minimum monthly needs. So in this example, and this is, again, this is not mine. This person needs just a little over $1,000 a month just for the bare essentials. When you add into account things like, hey, I wouldn't mind taking a vacation this year, so I'm going to set aside for this person $1,000 for the year. Maybe that gives you a nice road trip somewhere. Oh yeah, and we wanted to do that home improvement project where we wanted to update, I don't know, we wanted to update our bathroom. Okay, well, that's going to cost $600, so I need $50 a month. If you're saving up for college for your kids, et cetera, you guys get the gist of it. At the end of the day, this person needs for the whole year 12 grand. They need for each month about $1,000. Would this act as motivation if I have 0 homes pending right now? It should. Because right now in your mind, you're working through the clock's turning, right? So, oh man, well, I probably need $1,500 a month to get through my month. And yet I don't have any home spending. Well, maybe that will serve as some motivation, hopefully, to encourage you to get out there and do the practices that will get you a paycheck, right? So lead generation. If you're not generating leads, then you're not running a successful business, I'll guarantee it. If you're not spending the time trying, then you can anticipate struggling. And I don't want y'all to struggle. I don't want you to be part of that 80% that isn't a realtor in a year. The 80% is only 80% because they're not on calls like this, understanding and learning how to do things at a higher level. They're not challenging themselves, and they are not following basic principles that will create successful realtors. I'm going to stop sharing that. And then I'm going to get back over to our presentation. Please hold 1 second. All right, now we're going to jump over into MREA. For those of you that do have the book, there is a plethora of information. I got the word in plethora for the day, that's big. MREA economic model. So the economic model is essentially how to use your funds, the profit that you make, the expenses that you spend, and what all goes into it. The way the Millionaire Real Estate Agent was created by Gary Keller in, shoot, I want to say it was like the year 2000-ish. He interviewed like 100 of the top realtors across the country. It wasn't just in one area of the country, literally across the entire country. Jill Rudler at the Keller Williams Excel office is actually in the book. She has been quoted in the book. At the time, she was probably one of the top realtors in all of Ohio. And so it's kind of cool. But great book, essentially written by realtors who are successful. So these numbers that you're going to see have been derived from basically averages of what everyone he talked to reported back to him. And these were, in order to get to these numbers, all these agents had to literally submit their financials to Gary Keller, was my understanding. So in a perfect world, we've got an income check, that's GCI, otherwise known as gross commission income. From that, 30% of millionaire real estate agents, so these numbers are gonna be different for us because we're just starting out. 30% went to cost of sales, and we'll get into what cost of sales is here in a moment. 30% goes to operating expenses. This is important. You should be, once you start making money, you should put money back into the business. You should not be 100% net income. I'm going to repeat that. You should not sit on all of the money that you make. You need to let your money work for you in some capacity. So 30% is a pretty good number. My numbers are currently different than this, meaning, so let's say in the example here, we get a $10,000 commission check. Well, $3,000 is going to go towards cost of sales. Again, we're going to get into an example here in a moment. And essentially what cost of sales is like with Keller Williams, we've got our commission split and we've got our cap. So we've got cap and royalty. We also then are probably spending money for maybe leads or advertising or something to that effect. And so that's operating expenses. And then at the end of the day, we profit about $4,000. If I'm going to guide you to one page on the MREA book, it's going to be page, well, it starts on 176. It starts talking about all this stuff with the economic model. And it goes through a bunch of different flow charts and literally some examples from these millionaire real estate agents. I find that I learn the most from people who are doing it at a high level. And so reading through these numbers and stuff are really, really impactful. I'm sorry that I can't pull this up on the screen for you right now. So I'm just going to jump over to the next slide. We're going to talk about your flow of money now. The flow of money, the way that I like to phrase it is phrased in the MREA book. It's playing red light and green light. So if we're playing red light, green light, what do you think that's in reference to? Like, how do you think that plays out in your business? I'm going to remain awkwardly silent until somebody answers this question. So if we're saying red light, green light with your finances, what does that mean? In a red light at traffic, you stop what you're doing, right? So with my finances, it probably means that I shouldn't spend any more money on whatever it is that I'm considering doing. Green light in traffic means you can go. You've got the green light. You've heard that term before. So with finances, if I've got enough money to spend, then it's green light. I'm good to go. Our income is what comes in. Our expense is what goes out. And then after all that's said and done, it's what we're left with is profit. Our profit can also drive income. This chart here on the right. So what's our goal? What expenses, and this says, how can I minimize expenses to maximize net income? There are certain things that you're going to spend your money on that are going to give you a greater return on your investment. So you hear the term ROI all the time in this industry because there's different things out there. So let's talk about Zillow. Oh my gosh, I said the word. We say that Zillow is the enemy. We understand that they're doing some things in the industry that aren't necessarily super friendly for realtors. And yet we do have to understand that that's where a lot of eyeballs are when people are starting their home buying process. And so if I'm saying Zillow is a potential expense, meaning I can actually pay them for leads. Well, I've got to determine, is there going to be a return on that investment? Because Zillow, like a lot of other lead sources, it's expensive. And like a lot of other lead sources, some of the leads they send you, after I've talked with people and actually had firsthand experience, some of the leads they send you are hot garbage. And yet, if I can justify that spend by seeing a large ROI at the end of the day, then I'd be foolish not to consider it. There's so many different other expenses, right? So let's say you wanna start farming a neighborhood. Well, I currently have zero money coming in, so I need to probably play red light for now. Meaning I am not spending a dime on anything until I have my first closing. And now you start to plan. So let's say, some of you brand new agents out there, you haven't had any closings, but you know what you want to do with your money when you start to see some commission checks start to roll in. It's imperative that you start to plan now to say, hey, when I get that first check, it's probably going to be the average paycheck here. Let's see here. The average commission is about $6,500 if I'm calculating. The average home sale price is between $210,000 and $220,000, I believe, in Columbus. So that leads to, if your commission is 3%, being about, what is that, $6,500 bucks. So if I get $6,500 after all my fees to Keller Williams are paid for, and I pay my bills and my utilities, and I, fund my lifestyle, maybe I've got an extra $1,000 that I can use. So maybe I want to spend money on some print marketing. Maybe I want to go old school. Maybe I want to do some farming and actually hand out flyers, go door to door. That's prospecting / marketing. It's going to cost money, right? So let's say it might cost $1,000 to print all those marketing materials that you want. I'm just throwing out round numbers. You guys have any ideas on how you can maybe take that number and whittle that number down a little bit? Is there anybody in your world in real estate that you could pair with to potentially get that money down, that dollar amount down?
Title company, some of them that offer cheaper marketing resources for postcards and things like that.
Yeah, perfect. Exactly. Hit the nail on the head. So your lenders or your title company that you're going to work with, they jump at the bit to try and earn your business, and they can help you with some of these expenses. Even things like Zillow, I've heard lenders help out with Zillow costs before. Title companies are always going to be offering their marketing services to you, and sometimes they can even print the stuff for you. So be thinking of ways, when we say red light, green light, to spend less and get the same amount out of it. Ultimately, though, your profit, that $1,000 profit can lead to more income if we spend it wisely, because you want to get your name out there, right? Hopefully I'm making sense to everybody. Income looks like commission earned from closed transactions, such as listings, sales, referrals, and leasing income. We have a young lady in our coaching program who does some like property management leasing stuff. And that's a good way to make some passive income. We always talk about investment properties. As realtors, wouldn't we be silly not to ask ourselves this simple question when we enter every single house for a buyer or every single listing opportunity? Wouldn't we be foolish not to ask ourselves, should I buy this for myself and for my family? You guys, I promise, if you're in this industry long enough, you'll get to that point where you're able to ask yourself that and answer it realistically. Like, let's say you're down, I don't know, you're in an area that's a hotbed for investment activity right now, and you walk into a home and it's priced at $40,000. You ask yourself, man, should I buy this and have some passive income? I say passive because you typically, once you do a couple fixes to the house, you can rent it out, and then the tenants will typically pay your mortgage or pay you directly if you've paid cash for it, and you have income. There are many different ways in this industry that you will find that you can make income from. Referrals is another one. Has anybody dealt with referrals yet? I want to, let's see. Well, I'm not going to share this today, but there is a tab on KW Command. It's called referrals on the left side there. And it will actually allow you to search for all of the Keller Williams agents across the country, all 150,000 plus real estate agents in Keller Williams across the country. So that if Lisa Mitchell knows her cousin John Mitchell, who is going to move to Louisiana, and John says, yeah, I'm going to move to Louisiana. I'd like to move there by April. Lisa says, oh, before you look up a realtor down there, I want to hook you up with somebody. I have great resources down there. And Lisa, in the back of her mind's thinking, I don't know anyone in Louisiana. However, there's this awesome tool that we can use through Command. And if you ask me offline anytime, I'm happy to show it to you. I just used this to help a client. And so in Lisa's situation, she'd go on Command. She would actually go hover over the great state of Louisiana, and she would find Keller Williams agents, and it would be based off their volume and track record. You can actually look up their bios and all that stuff to find the agent that seems like they'd be the best fit for that person you're trying to refer. speaking of income, and I'm sorry I'm beating a dead horse here. I've told my coaching people this before. I just made $2,000 in 5 minutes, and it was the easiest money I ever made. So I had some clients moving to Springfield, Missouri. Does anybody know anyone in Springfield, Missouri? Great, me neither. However, I got on command and I looked for realtors in Springfield. I was able to zero in on some of the top realtors in the area. And then I spent a couple minutes reading through their bios, and I landed on somebody who sounded a lot like myself, who I would want to work with if I were my friends. And I called that person, we hit it off. And in the span of a 5-minute phone call, I referred this agent my guy's contact information, and they were in contract literally the next day and closed 30 days later. And I got $2,000 for a 5-minute phone call. So there's your real world scenario. I highly encourage y'all to think about how you can make income from people that you don't even know. So what that looks like is encouraging all of your sphere of influence, that if you know of anyone in the world moving anywhere in the world, that they let you know first, so that you can link them up with the great agent. Enough on that. I said we get into cost of sales. So cost of sales is the cost related to each transaction you make, otherwise known as the cost of making the sale. As you're in this business longer, these costs are going to grow. And that's why the number 30% is affiliated with cost of sales, because agents who are doing $1 million in profit a year are spending $300,000 on cost of sales. It's not obviously their cap. Like this says commissions paid to the office, otherwise known as like fees to your broker, like company dollar, basically your cap, right? So depending on where you're at, it's like $21,000, whatever that looks like. Then you have royalty fees. That's another $3,000 no matter where you're at. So we're looking at a total of, mid $20,000. But typically after that, as a solo agent, we're kind of capped. Now I kind of include my my brokerage fees, or sorry, my board dues and stuff in this, because that's a cost to do business. You have to pay that, whatever it is, $1,400 every single year. You can budget for it. It should be on your P&L, and you should prepare for it. I include that in my cost of sales. It doesn't matter what you classify as cost of sales and what you classify as expenses, ultimately at the end of the day, as long as you've identified it and you're consistent with it. Commissions or splits paid to employees or independent contractors involved in sales. You really, as solo independent agents, for most of us, we probably shouldn't have a whole lot of this going on. Referral fees. Not a whole lot of that probably going on either right now. As a solo agent, as I jump back up here to this slide, it says, as a guide, 40% of our overall transactions should be profit. As a solo agent, honestly, your profit should probably be higher. We call it profit margin. So if you divide 4,000 by 10,000, you get 40%. So they say your profit margin is 40%. Ours as solo agents should probably be closer to 50 to 60%, meaning we shouldn't have this high cost of sales right now. Operating expenses now, that probably should be right around 30%, and I'll explain why. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. Shake your heads or raise your hand or whatever if you need me to. If you would like me to explain, I'm happy to. But do you guys know how to calculate a commission check? I'm not seeing any action, so we're gonna do this. All right, so let's work for the case of for this practice. We're just gonna say that we just sold a $200,000 house. So everyone you get a free pass. Look at your phone or your calculator or whatever. What would the gross commission income be on a $200,000 house for a typical transaction where we make 3%?
$6,000.
Thank you, Lisa. You hit the nail on the head. So how did you get that number?
I just took the sales price times 30%. Well, actually, I did it times 10%, and I knew it was 30, so I just did it in my head times 3.
Okay, so you take the total home price, $200,000, times your commission percent, which is 3%, so times 0.03. We're going back to like, what is that, 5th or 6th grade? I don't even remember. 0.03 is the same as 3%. So you take that and you'll get $6,000. So your GCI, gross commission income, is $6,000. Now, there are folks on here who have different caps, and that's cool. We're gonna use the 30% commission split as a guide here. So let's say you're at 30% commission split. So you take that $6,000 times it by 0.3 equals $1,800. So $1,800 is going to go towards your cap. Cool. Now let's go back and let's take $6,000 again times 0.06. What am I calculating now? If I'm calculating 6% of something, what's that?
That's the
Your
royalty fee.
Royalty fee. Yes, thank you. So that equals 360. So at the end of the day, if I take $6,000 and I subtract that 1,800 split, and then I subtract the $360 for royalty, I'm left with approximately $3,840 if I did my math right. Now, let's say we're capped on both, and I sell a $200,000 house. What's my commission check look like then? It's a trick question, right? It's $6,000. So it's the same, I just don't have any fees. So the difference between $3,800 with caps and stuff and $6,000, that's pretty substantial. So the encouragement there is to get capped, right? And we want to get capped as quick as possible. Now, if you're on a team, your commission split is totally different. There's all kinds of different scenarios. This is just a very high level discussion about commission split math. Really sexy stuff, huh? Before we get into building your future, I want to talk about a P&L. So we talked earlier about what P&L stands for. It's profit and loss statement, right? And it is 11:57. So out of fairness to y'all's bladders, we're going to go ahead and we're going to go to break 3 minutes early, and we're going to reconvene. We're almost done. We're probably 75% of the way through the material, guys. So this is not going to take till 1 o'clock. When we get back from break, we will discuss what a P&L should consist of and some of the line items that you'll want to include in yours. So go ahead and take a break. Let's meet back at 12:05. 12:05. See you back here. Cool? Cool. Nicole, I really like your mantle. I can't hear you.
How about now?
Yeah.
Good. Good. How are you?
I'm good. I love your mantle. It looks
Thank
great
you.
behind you.
Thank you. We're trying, getting a little Christmas decorations out.
Yeah, I know so many people started decorating early and because there's nothing else to do, right? Brian, I see your Christmas tree back there, rocking it.
Oh yeah, I did all the interior shit because I haven't started outside. I got lights going up on along the wall over there too. Some of our bikes.
Nice.
Good. All right, guys. Well, we're gonna get back onto it. So we're gonna talk P&L real quick. I copied and pasted the line items that I use from my P&L, and maybe it would work for you. Maybe there's some different things that you would add in. Maybe there's things that you would take away. So I'm gonna share my screen again real quick and just show you what those items are. So this is for my P&L. Now, I'm not going to scroll up because it's my actual P&L. I don't think you probably want to know all my numbers and stuff, but I break this down into 12 columns. I literally break it down January through December, and then the final tally here is going to be a total column. For those of you with rudimentary skills with Excel or with Google, what is this? Google Sheets. You can add up these columns to create a total at the end. If you need help with that, I'm happy to help. I know that much about Excel and stuff. The line items that I like to use are, and I like to lump these up into different silos. It's important to organize your financials in different categories so that you know, and you can share with like your CPA at the end of the year, if you're gonna use one of them, like, hey, here's how much I spent on marketing. Here's how much I spent on my office tools, etc. Because that's as a CPA, I'm assuming that's how they work. So income, you've got your GCI, so how much you made at the top end, your net, meaning after your fees and stuff, how much you made. And for me, I've got coaching income. Our office dues, so things like CAP. Hopefully it doesn't take us long and then we're starting to receive 100% cap. That's the dream, right? And I promise you guys, as you get into this industry, it will become easier each year as long as you're consistently doing the work, right? So my first year, it took me 12 months, but I capped. My next year, it took me about 8 months and I capped. This year, it took me like 4 months and I capped. And so making 8 months of 100% commissions is pretty sweet. And I want to encourage you and inspire you to do the work that leads you to that. So cap, royalty, it's going to be the same for everyone. It's probably going to fall off just about the same time your cap does. Monthly dues. Well, that is what it is. It's 89 bucks or whatever for Excel. I don't know 100% what it is for Cap Partners, but it's probably not going to change much. And then you got your board dues. So this is when you say COB here, cost of business. That's the cost of sales. So this whole lump right here is for me. And again, it doesn't matter how you break yours down. All that matters is that you're consistent with it. Let's get into tools and space. When I say space, I mean like office. Payroll. Well, this shouldn't impact many of us on this call because we probably don't have large teams. I saw Rashad, you're on, so you may have some payroll. Buffy maybe has some payroll. But when you're a solo agent, who you paying aside from yourself? Phone, like keep tabs on all these things because these are things that can be deducted at the end of the year. If you are not keeping track of like your phone bill, what are you using your phone for? Odds are 75% of the time you're doing work on your phone. So you should be able to use that as a write-off. Keep your bills in here. Phone, website. So I paid for something in January and then I stopped it. So it's zero for the rest of the year, but in January there was an actual total there. Internet, like how much do you pay a month for internet? That can be possibly some of that a write-off. Pair with your CPA on that. Don't quote me, I'm not a tax professional. Your office, are you renting an office? So like Rashad, for instance, maybe you're renting an office and there's a monthly fee due there. A car, are you having car expenses? And this could be broken down way more than just saying car. QuickBooks, so this is something that I have that keeps track of my drive miles, and it keeps track of what I'm spending my money on. It directly links to my bank account. And so this is a tool that you can use, QuickBooks. There are many, many other apps out there. It's an easy app on your phone. It also has a desktop functionality for you to keep track of your P&L, and you can just easily swipe right if it's for personal use, or swipe left if it's for business. And at the end of the year, you've got all your tax stuff right there in your phone, essentially. Super simple. There is a monthly fee though with that. If you are not, I want to reiterate drive miles. If you are not keeping track of your drive miles, you are doing a travesty to your tax return. I think it's like 58 cents a mile. Anyone know that number?
I don't know the exact number, but there's an app that I've been using for a couple of years called Everlance, and it's really good at tracking your mileage and generating a Excel sheet at the end of the year that breaks down every mile you drove for business, so you can turn it in with your taxes, and it's not very expensive.
Yeah, and Mile IQ is really good as well.
Awesome. Yeah, my first year I used a free app, and it did the job, and then like its free functionality stopped, so I had to pay for something. I ended up, QuickBooks does have a mileage tracker that's only $5 a month or something crazy low, and it does a couple other things too. So just search the App Store and find something that works for you. But regardless, at the end of the year, you need to have your mileage tallied up, because that is a huge windfall for you. Equipment. So did I have to buy a new laptop this year? Or did I have to buy new lock boxes? Did I have to buy new signs? Stuff like that, maybe. Auto insurance, keep track of that as well. Marketing. So this is a whole new silo, because this is something else with my business, right? So Mojo is a power dialer. BombBomb is a video app that's pretty sweet. Twilio is who we send mass text through command with. Calendly is how some of you have signed up for meetings with me. It's cheap, but it's something, any expense that you have, whether it's $1 or $5,000, needs to be tracked, right? The slide broadcast. So going through this, there's some stuff that you guys don't need to give a crap about. And you need to just keep track of everything. Clothing. So if you're gonna have some logo stuff made up, I just created a logo for me and my team, and we printed off some shirts and some jackets and stuff. Or you may just want some good old fashioned KW stuff. Whatever tickles you, make sure you track it. Stationery, are you printing business cards? Are you printing flyers? Keep track. Client care. Closing gifts can get expensive if you let it. Play red light, green light there. I normally say 50. I started out saying, when I first got into the business, $50 for a closing gift. That's all I'm willing to spend until I start making more money and can afford to spend more. So $50, you can get a lot of nice stuff for $50. Client care. Do I have to pay for my client's landscaping? Do I need to? My very first listing that I ever had, I hired somebody to go mulch the yard because it was disgusting. That was an expense out of my own pocket. Photography, that's a big one. You know, if you go through, I use Virtuance. They do a great job. It's $149 a shoot, and they get things back to me in a day, and it's really good. You may have somebody that you're dedicated to using. Just keep track of it. Staging, I do not encourage you to have all your home staged because it is expensive, and yet it can provide a real big impact. So I've staged a couple properties, and just need to make sure you notate that. Cleaning and repairs. I've installed a door on a listing that I was about to go live with because the door had a big hole in it, and I was like, that was my value proposition to get the listing. Like, hey, I'll even help you install that door if you want. And lo and behold, got the listing and got it sold in a couple days. Miscellaneous things. Now, this is going to look different for everybody again. Meals. My understanding and talking to my CPA is that you can, at the end of the year, write off 50% of meals affiliated with your business. Hotel stay. So we went to family reunion in February. If I was to stay in a hotel, then I can expense that. Education. It's a big one. If you apply to go to Bold and it's $99, write that off at the end of the year. You're improving your education, right? Coaching, travel, memberships. I've got a Topgolf membership. And you might say to yourself, well, how the heck is that a business expense? I'll tell you how it's a business expense. I use it all the time. I take clients there. I host events there. It's fun, but at the end of the day, I'm using it for business purposes to try and increase my business. And then so total expenses. So I add this up across the bottom line there, and I get a total number. You take your total expenses, and divide that by your total income, and that's going to give you your percentages like we talked about, that 30, 30, 40. If your percentage of, if your margin is 40% or higher, you're doing pretty good. If it's 50% or higher, you're doing really good. And if it's like 60% or higher, you're doing so good that you might want to look at spending more money. You should spend money. I don't want to mince words. You should spend money. Don't put all your money in a pillow underneath your bed or underneath your head, right? Lastly, also keep track of things that you donate, your donations, your tithing and stuff. Like, if it involves money, keep track of it. Your CPA will know what to do with it. Cool. Is the P&L discussion helpful? Good. So last thing we're going to talk about are, let me share the Ignite here again. We're almost done, guys. You're doing great. And thank you to those who I'm seeing your faces. Couldn't be happier. All right, building your future. We're not going to do a 10-minute activity here, but I do want to do a fun activity. So I think it's fun at least. Fun activity. You ready for this? Okay. You have made, I just gave you a check for $50,000. You have to spend it on yourself. What are you going to spend it on? Anyone can chime in. Have fun with it. Dream big. That's the whole purpose of this. Dream real big. If you had $50,000 that you got today and you had to spend it on yourself, what would you spend it on?
When you say on yourself, what do you mean? Like anything that you wanted to that's pertaining to you?
Yeah.
I'm putting it all in my business right now at this point. Oh, 50 grand if I had to spend it today.
Okay.
Is that on myself?
No. You're not playing along right. No, like I know you, Rashad. Maybe you go buy some new Jordans or something. I don't know, a whole closet full. Heck, for 50 grand.
Okay, then I'm spending it on golf. How about that?
There you go. A golf membership to like Scioto Country Club. That's what's up right there. Who else? $50,000.
A trip.
I used RV.
Okay, an RV. I love it. And a trip. Where would you go, Nicole? What's on your bucket list?
If COVID has gone away, Italy.
Nice. We'll talk.
Okay,
I went
good.
a couple of years ago, and it was awesome. So
really
good.
awesome.
So the whole point of that little practice, guys, is to start thinking big about what you can do with money when you have a little bit extra. So if I was to say you made so much this year that you have an extra 50K that you didn't even budget for, what are you going to use it for? Like that's the whole mindset behind that practice. So if I was to say you had $100,000 extra that you didn't budget for, you didn't plan for, odds are you're going to, I don't know, buy a lake house somewhere, or an investment property, or you're going to, I don't know, put it all in retirement. I don't know what it is, but the moral of the story there is once you start to think big, you will be motivated to achieve it, right? And so what does it look like? What do my actions look like to be able to achieve those things? And it all comes down to, at the end of the day, generating leads every day and keeping track of my finances once I start making money. If I could make this whole real estate world as easy as that. So best practices, gain clarity on your big life hopes and dreams. I think one of those things that this practice just did. So Rashad, I know you're huge into golf right now. That's something that's big in your world and you want to do more of it. Well, you can afford more of it if you start doing more business. And if you start to kind of reverse engineer and say, well, if Nicole wants to go to Italy, number one, how much is that going to cost? Let's say it costs, I don't know, 15K for an awesome, beautiful experience for you and your family. Well, let's reverse engineer that to say, well, how can I make 15K extra this year so that that dream can become a reality? We also need to be thinking about our future, right? And so somebody typed in the text box earlier, generational wealth. When you die, you don't want to leave your family penniless, right? You want to leave a nice chunk of change for them so they can live comfortably. Have you budgeted in what that looks like, what that number looks like? So as I reference this top bullet point, gain clarity on your big life hopes and dreams. Sometimes we need to take a pause in our day and work on our business instead of working in our business. And what I mean by that is sometimes you need to step back from the business of actually doing. And I like to do this once a month or so, where I just take a step back and I say, okay, how's my business going? What do I need to do to make it bigger and better? And just brainstorm. Write down what you come up with, and then think to yourself, well, what if I do these things, what will I be able to do with the money that I receive from it? Second bullet point, set your personal and business budgets. 2020 is happening, or sorry, 2021 is happening in what, like 3 weeks? Holy cow. I just learned how to write 2020, and now I'm gonna have to learn how to write 2021. It's bad news. If you do not have a budget laid out for next year, I want to encourage you over the next 3 weeks to come up with one. Doesn't matter if you're on a team and you're operating underneath somebody else, or if you're doing your own thing in any line of business, and even in your family. Are you budgeting for your family's lives? Budgeting is bigger than just your personal business. So as I go back to the P&L, I've got an actual, here's what I actually spent, and then I've got a budget for 2021. So here's what I'm anticipating spending. And obviously it's going to be more because I want to grow and do more. And I need to spend money to make money. You've heard that old adage before. It's true. But if you don't have a budget and you're just flying by the seat of your pants, you're going to be screwed. You're not going to be as successful as possible. And so I used to say this when I was operating my P&L with Walmart. I wanted to pinch my pennies, meaning I wanted to pinch my paper clips, meaning I don't want to order too many paper clips, because even though that's a really small expense, maybe it's only a couple bucks. At the end of the day, it's still a couple bucks that could prevent us from meeting our financial goals. So do I really need those new business cards, or can I get by with what I've already got? Do I really need to, I don't know, buy that Lamborghini because I just had my first closing, Or am I going to be okay in my Honda? Right? So play red light, green light there and pinch your pennies. Set up a business entity. I think this is one that we overlook a lot, and your CPA will be able to guide you on that. But setting up an LLC is super simple. I think I did all mine online, and it took me like 5 minutes. I think it cost maybe like $100 if I recall. But setting up an LLC will help limit your liability if something bad were to happen. We're not only budgeting in our dollars, we're also budgeting worst case scenario. Let's say I really screw up a transaction somehow and I have to pay out of pocket to remedy some things. Well, I don't want the IRS or government or whoever claims coming to take my house. Limited liability, LLC. Open additional bank accounts for taxes, expenses, and other savings. Again, we talked about that earlier. If you don't already have a business bank account, please set one up and create some parameters to organize that money as it comes in. So maybe you say, hey, I got a $5,000 commission check. I want $2,500 to go to my personal account, $2,500 to go to my business. When I was in my first year, I didn't feel comfortable with my financials in my account until I got to 10 grand, just consistently. I felt like by myself, if something bad happened, at least I had 10 grand to pay for, like, let's say the air conditioner went out or whatever. 10 grand would likely take care of that. Well, now that I've got a team, I need to also account for salaries. And so now that number is much larger. I'm not comfortable unless I've got, a whole year's worth of salary for that one person in my savings, in my business account, so that I know that I'm okay and that person's going to be okay if something bad were to happen. So set up multiple accounts, please. Download and use the MREA chart of accounts. Not going to lie, I don't know where to find that, and I'm sure it's easily accessible. The chart of accounts, it's kind of like a P&L type thing. Next bullet point, purchase and download tax accounting software. We talked a little bit about that. So for me, it's QuickBooks. For you, it can be whatever works. The best app to use is the best one you'll use, or is the one you'll use. So it's kind of like a CRM. The best one out there is the one you'll use. Whatever is most comfortable for you. Find that one and use it. Hire an accountant, a CPA, attorney. I don't have an attorney. I hope I don't need one anytime soon. I probably should have one. I don't know. CPA though, I cannot scream from the mountaintops loud enough how much money a CPA has saved me. So I always did my own taxes when I was in the corporate world, we'll call it. But as a 1099, as an independent contractor, I didn't know where to begin. So I never even tried it. That you were not going to convince me that I was going to be able to get every single deduction that was owed to me credited to me. So my CPA has made me look homeless every single year, and that means he's doing his job. Not saying that we're fudging anything, we're not at all, but we're accounting for every single dollar that we're spending. So a good CPA is worth their weight in gold. If you are interested in getting the contact information of a CPA, I have a great one for you. He was actually referred to me through Tabitha. Tabitha is our team leader at Excel, and this guy is awesome. He doesn't talk a lot. He's not going to bend your ear. He doesn't charge a lot either, though, and he does a great job. Set dates to calculate and pay your estimated taxes. That's what a CPA can help you out with. They can even give you an estimated total to pay on a quarterly basis. And lastly, best practice is prepare for your future. Insurance, savings, and investments. Investments. We talking about stocks? We could be talking about investment properties. We're talking about different lines of business. Real estate has so many different lines of business that you can make money through. And since we're talking about financials, let's talk about those. Brian, what's a good alternative that real estate lends itself well to doing with business?
Property management.
Property management. Who's to say you can't start your own property management business on the side? You're already in a ton of homes. You already have that home knowledge, and it can actually help facilitate business growth on your real estate end, because as Brian has told me multiple times, he's done business with people he's never even met face to face before, right? You've only been their property manager, and they said, hey, I want to sell this. You're a realtor, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll help you sell it, no problem. So it helps on both ends of the spectrum. Additionally, like, you could become a coach. That can be lucrative. You can start your own investment company group. There's so many different things you guys can do. So I'm glad you're in this industry with me. All right, guys. Ahas. Everyone just give me one quick aha from this hour and a half that we've spent together.
My aha is that I'm not as organized financially as I should be.
Cool.
My aha is that since I'm new, I need to start from day one, getting all of those things together that I've already spent money on, my education, dues and all those types of things. Because I don't want to be in Brian's shoes and have to go back and figure it out.
I mean, I'm not that bad about it. A lot of the IRS coming after you, because I've had that, and they came after me for over $100,000. So you don't want that.
Wow.
I will agree with Lisa on taking a step back before I move any more forward and collecting all of my expenses. And this is a whole new world for me. So that was very helpful.
Cool. Anybody else? Ahas. Rashad, Rory. All right. Can't see them, so I don't even know if they're in front of their computer. We will finish this on a high note. So through Ignite, they kind of leave us with some goals to ignite your business. So one of the things they recommend are making 10 contacts, adding 10 contacts. I'm going to assume that is probably a week. 10 contacts added a week. So if you're struggling with how to add contacts into Command, then I would challenge you to think outside the box. Talk to your coach, about how to get contacts in different ways. And I'd be happy to help guide you there. 10 conversations a day. This is just 10 real estate conversations. Somebody asked me what a contact consists of. That's any conversation that is two ways that is based on real estate. It can be just a local checkup on, hey, John, I haven't talked to you in a while. How are things going? Oh yeah, real estate's doing great. Boom, you just had a real estate conversation. It can be in person. It can be over the phone, over Zoom. It can be a two-way correspondence through email. It can be text. How else? Social media. I don't care how you get it, as long as you're getting it. The goal is 100 per week. 100 per week, statistically speaking, should get you an appointment or two every single week. And that's the name of the game. 10 handwritten notes per week. I love this one. It's old school and it gets the job done. People keep handwritten notes forever. And then 10 home previews a week. That just keeps you abreast of the market and what's going on there. So we're not going to go over scripts. Guys, that concludes our talk on financials. I appreciate y'all for being on. Take your aha and do something with it, please. I just challenge y'all to take a step back and work on your business and not necessarily in your business today. So thank y'all. If you have questions, reach out to me. And if you would like to reach out to me on a good CPA. If you don't have my phone number, feel free to write it down, or just ask Elise or whatever, or Emily. Appreciate y'all. Talk to y'all later. Ta-ta.
Thank you.
Bye, thanks.